They don't need to send a nurse out there to take a physical exam. There's no blood work or urine required. So we're going to run it based off of how we answer these underwriting questions, the MIB to see if you've been rated or declined for insurance in the past, and then based off of your prescription history. So if all three of those things check out, we'll be able to get you a decision on the spot.
All right. So welcome to the Agent Q&A. You got your host here, John. Joanne's not in, but we got Al. What's going on? So,
Guys?
Welcome back to our channel. Speaking of our channels, it is on FFL Elite Clips on YouTube. So please like and subscribe so we can grow our content count and then we can monetize this thing somehow. So what Yoel suggested first, before we go into our topics, is to go ahead and have the audience ask their specific questions first, and then we're going to go into our main topics. So anybody have any peace of mind, any question in mind that we can help out, feel free to unmute. Marianne, if you do so.
Can I ask a question about a specific client?
Yes.
I have a 71-year-old female, non-smoker. Okay, she was the day before her 74th birthday. We were working on this, okay, or before her 71st birthday. Anyway, she has a partial hysterectomy and pelvic prolapse 2 years ago, depression and anxiety, and acid reflux.
Okay.
Okay, so we applied for Mutual of Omaha IULE and were declined. So I went over to Aetna and applied there for a final expense program, and she wasn't accepted for preferred, but they accepted her for modified. Now she's not happy because the first 2 years she only gets her return of premium.
Right.
So any thoughts about any other program I could look at that she would be covered right away?
Okay. So first off, let's unpack that. So we have a 74 female, you said, non-smoker?
Now she is 71. Yes.
71. So 71. So what Marianne did is she tried to get an IUL Express. Okay, let me expand on the underwriting on it versus a whole life. Okay, so the IUL Express with Mutual of Omaha is the same underwriting as the Mutual of Omaha Term Life Express. Okay, it's the same underwriting feature. You can't have more than 3,000 for each one. It has to be combined, and it basically underwrites it almost like a term policy.
Same underwriting criteria as in a Term Life Express policy.
Right. So like a term, it's simplified issue. It's level 4 and under. So they have to be really, really healthy to get it. So if that declines, which is a smart thing you did, you then moved in, pivoted to a whole life plan. Okay. Now what's happening with Aetna to push them back to modified, that means they're not even qualified for a level plan. So there's something going on with their medication. Typically, what I like to do is I like to use carriers that'll tell me the answer of why they're getting declined or why the reason of the modified happens. Okay, so if I personally have gotten a policy declined or it throws it off for some unknown reason, I want to find that out. So instead of Aetna, I would actually try going with Prosperity or AIG, because that's two specific companies will tell you this medication that the client may have not told you or may have not taken, but was prescribed or chose not to take, or they just forgot about it. Because when they run prescription history, they can run prescription history from 3 to 5 years. So they can tell you subjectively how they feel now, what they're taking now, but it's still on their medical records. And that could be it that you can find out. So you want to open up the can of worms to figure out what's throwing it off to modified. So I would run Prosperity, I would run AIG, quote either one, and then try to get them a level plan, and you get to figure out what's going on.
AIG is going to be the guaranteed issue again, right?
The SIWL, the Simplified Issue Whole Life. So that's a different product.
Mm-hmm.
Well, when you log in initially to the portal, but then there's a separate portion for it. So GIWL, which is Guaranteed Issue Whole Life, is separate from SIWL.
Yeah, which is Simplified Issue Whole Life.
Yeah.
Okay, I think I've seen that there, but I'm not sure I could get into it. Do I need to be?
They're automatically.
It's relatively new, so I mean, if you haven't seen it, okay. That's okay. But if you log on to aig.com//connext, CONNEXT,
Yeah.
then you should be able to access it directly from there.
Mhm.
Does MM have the active feedback too for?
Yes. MM will tell you at the end though, compared to Prosperity in the middle. I prefer Prosperity over AIG and MM. MM will tell you more. The difference between AIG and Prosperity, Prosperity will tell you in the middle. But if there's an MIB issue or an MIB decline from a previous policy, it stops right there. It won't even underwrite it. Whereas AIG doesn't check the MIB. It can tell you what's happening there.
Right.
Now, when I would use MM, I would use MM to explain a situation that they may have or don't have, because what MM does, it kind of does an underwriting on the spot, but then it still sends it to an underwriter so you can kind of explain it. So most of the computer ones, they're black and white, approve or reject based on prescription history. But if you have a gray area, for example, I had a client that was on nitroglycerin, which is like a prevention medicine if they've had heart attacks before. But nitroglycerin from America and other companies is an auto decline. I send it to MM, they get approved level because I tell them the situation.
Okay.
Plus, the important thing we got to remember is like all these different carriers, they have their own actuaries, they have their own different underwriting standards.
Mhm.
So they have different criteria upon which they'll accept. Because like at our old company, I mean, there was one product, so like they underwrote the heck out of that product, and most of these other final expense plans, like most of that stuff just slides.
Yeah. We had such a strict underwriting, which probably was like 30 years old plus, where if we had a diabetic with high blood pressure and a little bit of overweight, it was an auto decline.
Yeah.
In here, man, you can have some amputation, still get an approved level.
Yeah.
Did you know some plans, some insurance carriers, real question about the amputation for diabetes is only in the last 2 years.
Really?
So if they were if they lost their toe 2-3 years ago, you're level, man. You're back. You're up and running.
Good to know. Hope I never have to go through that, but good to know.
So we've gotten some clients, 9 toes and all approved. So hopefully that helps. I would try Prosperity first if you have that, and then AIG.
Prosperity, I have a writing number with them, but since I hadn't written something for a while, they turned me off. And they said,
Yes.
"If you have a client, we'll turn you back on." Well, but I can't even do a quote.
You're sure you can. There's a quoting site for it.
There's a
They do
quote.
have a main quoting website, but if you want to rush it, because we have to either contract you. So
They recontract really quickly. So
yeah, Prosperity does terminate you if you don't write business within a year.
Yeah.
Their reasoning for that is that to keep an agent contracted costs them money. There's your appointment fees, and then there's the insurance carrier paying your appointment fees per state. So compared to other carriers, Prosperity actually eats that. They pay on their own instead of collecting it from the back end compared to other carriers from an agent standpoint. Okay. Some other carriers, you see that deducted off of your license fees, off of your accounts, off of your commissions. Prosperity doesn't. And so they want to keep it clean. Okay, well, if an agent has to rent in a year, what are we doing? Let's terminate. Let's save money.
Oh, if you want that quoting site, you don't need to have an agent login for, but it's prosperity.insuranceadmin, one word, .com. So prosperity.insuranceadmin.com. So I bookmarked that to my phone for easy access.
Okay, can I get recontracted with them?
Yeah. So I would have Misha, your upline, resend you a contracting link and then do another one. Yeah.
Okay.
And we kind of know the guy up there.
Yeah. So once you send that out, then you should get it within a day or two.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So just to expand on it, if anybody's listening about the modified, what does modified mean? Modified means it's going to be a 2-year graded plan, which they have to wait 2 years until they're fully paid out. If they die within the first 2 years, aside from an accident, it's not going to pay out. They're just going to get their money back plus 10%.
Prosperity also has a graded plan.
Yep.
So graded plan is somewhat similar, except if they pass away in the first year of having that policy. So graded means like obviously they didn't qualify for the day one level coverage, not for the standard, because some health conditions or some otherwise disqualifying health issues. So so there's level, which is, or immediate, which is the one that you desire if they're healthy enough. Second one's graded, which is if they pass away in the first year, then you get 30% of the face amount. If they pass away in the second year of having the policy, within the second year, they get 70% of the face amount. And then after the second year, it's full payout.
Yeah.
With the modified, which is the last one, that's going to be, as John mentioned, if they pass away in the first 2 years, they won't pay out the death benefit, but they'll return all the premium plus 10%.
Right. But with prosperity, it's a little different. It is higher, but what they're actually doing is they're paying the annual payment, not the premiums paid by the client. So let's say I'm paying $100 a month. I got the prosperity modified. I died during the first month. They're going to give me 110% of the annual premium paid out whenever they pay.
The 1,200 plus 10%.
Yeah, right. Even though you only paid 1 month. If you did AIG and Aetna, you paid $100, you're going to get $110.
What a bargain to die early.
So there's different deals, different prices, but I mean, I like to use prosperity. Prosperity's graded. I still consider it a day one coverage because they still get 30% if they died within day one. Right. I just explained it a little bit expensive.
I mean, generally for most of those clients that you have to write it with a graded or modified, they know they have some health conditions. They were probably walking into this not knowing whether or not they even be covered.
Yeah.
To be able to get some coverage. So I always be very upfront with them, and I'm like, hey, so your policy is going to be graded or it's going to be modified. Here's how it works. But I always let them know, like, you're not going to lose any money if you pass away during the first 2 years.
Right.
Like, you'll get all your money back plus 10%.
Yeah, it's a guaranteed savings account in a sense. That's what I tell the clients. And then I tell them, I add that extra feature, like, look, you can put your money into a bank. You're not going to get 10% in first year in any bank, not even CDs. Right. So it's for sure there for you.
And talk about something as morbid as them dying in the first 2 years. I mean, they know they have some health conditions, which requires them to qualify for a graded or modified. So sometimes they'll say, like, you know, I'll tell them, hey, you can get all your money back plus 10%. You're not really going to lose anything. And then they'll be like, oh, well, I really want the full amount. And I'm like, that's simple. Just don't die in the first 2 years. And then you know, it breaks some of the attention a little bit. They laugh a little bit, and then we move forward. I mean,
Your bank
seems
account,
like a
lady.
simple plan to me, right?
So going back to the real details of your client that you may have not uncovered, you mentioned she had a hysterectomy, right? So hysterectomy, that means they cleaned out her reproductive organs. That means there's a possibility she may have some polyps, tumors, or cancerous cells that before she had the hysterectomy that she didn't tell you, she might have had taken some cancer meds or radiation or chemotherapy that she didn't mention, and she could have that medication that threw it off. So just a heads up. So find out what's really happening.
Okay, so prosperity will indicate what the issue is.
Correct.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Johnny?
I have questions on just like on the telesale side, more like what are the knockout questions you want to ask?
Right. So Donnie mentioned this on the text. How do you pivot from the client on these knockout questions to now figure out what does America still qualify? Does prosperity still qualify? So a couple of things I do run through. If you guys have not seen it on the Google Drive, we do have a financial inventory sheet for the mortgage protection and the final expense. But on the middle side, that's why I like repeating. Okay, I pretty much have it in my head, but I just simplify it for the clients. I go from top down. So I ask the clients, okay, anything mental, anything in the head, Alzheimer's, dementia, quadriplegia, nervous system disorders, okay, anything that you take medicine for. Then I go into the next part, anything for your heart, okay, nothing about high blood pressure, cholesterol, we can get that approved, but I'm looking for blood thinners, okay. Blood thinners specifically with Americo, certain blood thinners knocks them all off, like blood thinner like Plavix, Lasix, clopidogrel. That could be level for other carriers, but I just know in my head, Americo's out. Okay. If a client tells you they're smoking and they're in their final expense, I'm looking to use Americo first because that's going to save them money. Okay. So that's one of my main pivot immediately to that. If they say smoker, I have a sales pitch saying, okay, we can get you a non-smoker rate with Americo. This is going to save you a lot of money. All right. Next, if you go from the heart, I then follow up. Okay. You had some heart issues. How long ago? Okay, certain carriers will last 3 years, 2 years, 1 year. So now I know it's a level plan, graded plan, or modified. So then I would follow up. Is it a stroke? Is it a heart attack? Okay, stroke, Americo is really great at. Stroke will be taken within 1 year with Americo. So we can still get them a level plan. But if it's like a heart attack, bypass surgery, 2 years, 3 years, then I'm asking, what's your main medication? So I do expand on it. I go simple first, head, heart, lungs, and then if they say something, then I do a deep dive, right? So for the lungs, then I ask, okay, anything for COPD or oxygen? If I know it's oxygen, that's a whole knockout. We're going GIWL automatic, right? But if they tell me they're on a nebulizer, they're on steroid, they're on asthma, I know America's not lean on that. They can have just asthma meds, but it could be steroids. America kicks it out. So now I would lean into, if they have 2 or 3, if it's not just albuterol with lungs for the asthma, I'm going straight to Prosperity, because I know they could be lying or they could have like a respiratory doctor that changes their medications and there's going to be 4 or 5 of them. Okay. So a common thing I see often, like Spiriva, Combivent, that's an asthma / COPD med. America kicks it out. Okay. But Prosperity can take it. But if you feel like they're guaranteed admitting that they have COPD, now I'm leaning towards Aetna because I can get them a level plan with it, right? So then I go and say, okay, I can get you a level day 1 coverage, slightly more expensive. I can get you a graded plan with Mutual of Omaha, slightly cheaper, but you have to wait 2 years, right? And then I do the same thing from cirrhosis, liver. And then I say stomach area. What's going on with the stomach? Anything with liver, anything with kidney, anything with pancreas. Okay. They tell you I got cirrhosis, stage 1, stage 2, stage 3. I got kidney chronic failure, stage 1, stage 2. Some companies, they're auto declines. Prosperity, they're really good. They have a graded plan for a kidney disease or kidney failure. So I would lean into that. Then reproductive, you're going to run into a lot of diabetes, complications of diabetes. One great thing about Prosperity, complications for diabetes with neuropathy is not included. It's not in the question. So you can get them a level plan if they have neuropathy with Prosperity. Okay. And other ones is going to be graded. So these are the little things that you get to find out. But don't be afraid. If it's brand new, we still have the group me. Okay. You don't have to be a technical specialist on the medication and the prescription and the questions of how it's asked with the carriers. You gain that through experience.
You ask all those questions prior to running a quote?
Right.
Okay. So John's really good with the technical details. I mean, there's a lot of times like certain medication will come up or certain health condition will come up, and I'll text them real quick when I'm on the phone, and I'm like, do they take this? I mean, and then he'll rattle it off. But generally for me, I mean, so John's method is really thorough. So that's good if you are that familiar with the underwriting, and then that comes with experience.
Right.
John pays attention.
Yeah.
There's a financial inventory sheet. You can use that because that has all the things. So you can just tell the client, hey, I'm just going to run through these real quick. Stop me if any of these are yes, and just rattle them off one by one. Mm-hmm. For me, I actually only ask 4 questions, 5 questions. So I'll get into it. I'll be like, hey, do you smoke? I'll preface it by saying, all right, let me just start off with a few simple medical questions. Do you smoke? What's your height and weight? Do you have any major medical conditions? Okay, then I'm just going to kind of gauge how forthright they are with that stuff.
Yeah.
Because if they're not, and then they're like, I got this little thing, and then I'll start diving in and ask more questions. But I'll ask, do you have any major medical conditions? And then I'll say, have you ever been prescribed any medications for anything? So I don't say like, do you take anything? Because as we've come to discover, yep, a lot of clients have been prescribed things and they just said, I'm just not going to take it. But it still shows on the medical records, and it still shows on the prescription check. So you can't just like ignore that.
Right.
And then so that's the 4th one. Then I asked, have you been hospitalized in the last 2 years? Okay. So then generally with those 5 questions, that'll bring up something. So then if they say yes to anything, at that point, then I can ask following questions to drill down a little bit on whatever condition they say. But yeah, either way, whatever it is, develop a uniform process you can do every single time. Because the thing is, if you don't have that process, because John's way is good, my way works, the financial inventory sheet works. I mean, they all work. But the thing is, if you just start skipping steps here and there, then you're for sure going to miss stuff.
Yep.
And then then you'll get an inaccurate read and you'll quote something wrong.
Yeah. And you quote them. Like I made the same mistakes, Marianne, before. I try to get him the cheapest plan. IULE is so much cheaper than like a regular whole life, right? But they tell you subjectively that they're so healthy, and then boom, it kicks out. And then now we have to like fight back and tell them, well, your 25,000 you got for $100 is now $200, right? So it messes you up. So I've learned from that. So I learned to do a little bit more deeper dive. Now I would gauge the age of the client. If they're younger, you can just say, do you even take any medications, right? How's your health? Do you take any meds? Have you been hospitalized? Have you been arrested? I would ask more on that side if they're younger. But sometimes you'll uncover, they're in their 70s. So you ask them, what meds do you take? I was like, they'll tell you, what meds do I not take? I got like 10 lists. I know I'd probably just go straight to Prosperity because they're gonna miss one, and at least Prosperity, it'll tell you right in the middle what's throwing it off. So you can you only have to probably pivot one time if instead of like two or three.
Well, Prosperity has the live active feedback, so it'll pop up at the bottom telling you, hey, this popped up, ask follow-up questions about this. So I mean that's kind of a cool process. So for me personally, I mean, like we have that little diagram that we had about, it's like you could wear like a quarterback like armband,
Yeah.
and you like you follow the flow chart.
Yeah.
And you run this play, then this play doesn't work, you go here. But me personally, I try to go America first all the time. Because so the thing is with Prosperity, if you start an application and then it turns out that they didn't qualify, if you have enough of them, they'll ding you, right?
Yeah.
Because you know
it counts.
it costs the carrier money every single time they do one of these checks. So, you know, in the interest of us being good partners with them, we want to try to be as thorough as we can leading up to the underwriting process. So the thing is, if we can ask these questions, we're doing our part, first of all. Now, if you're inexperienced or you don't really understand the underwriting and the medications and all that well, I just say start with America first, because with America, they don't hold that against you. They count that as, and it's part of the cost of doing business, and they don't really make it a punitive thing. So try to run through America first, and then I'll always set the table first before you start. After you've asked those questions, you decide what you're going to quote, set the table for them and let them know. All right, I'm going to try to get you a level plan, if assuming they didn't say anything crazy like they're on dialysis or they have HIV or anything like that, then I know automatically I'm going to go to AIG or some guaranteed issue plan. But if it generally, you know, didn't seem anything major, just a little bit of diabetes, a little bit of high blood pressure, then I'll say, okay, great. So everything looks good so far. What I'm going to try to do for you first is, we have, as a broker, I have many different options. I'm going to try to run it through Americo first. This is an A+ rated carrier. They pay out claims very quickly, very financially strong, largest independently held insurance company in the country. You know, just kind of, you know, build some credibility for them. And then I'll say, and the great thing about this product is this carrier is that they don't need to send a nurse out there to take a physical exam. There's no blood work or urine required. So we're going to run it based off of how we answer these underwriting questions, the MIB to see if you've been rated or declined for insurance in the past, and then based off of your prescription history. So if all three of those things check out, we'll be able to get you a decision on the spot, right? So if you get back into the psychology of what a client's thinking, they're like, not just the money part. They're just thinking, well, will I even qualify? Like, they don't want to be let down, right? So then I just tell them, hey, so we'll get a decision on the spot, so you don't have to wait. And then they like that. And I'll say, in the unlikely event that this doesn't go through for some reason, maybe something popped up in your history, I have plenty of other carriers, and we'll pivot to another one. I'm gonna do what I can to try to get you approved for something, right? So this way, you're setting the table so they know what to expect. So they're not, because the times when I haven't done that and they got rejected on the first carrier, sometimes they're like, never mind, forget it.
Yeah.
Because like they built up their anticipation, and then they also, part of them psychologically probably knows that they have something, and then like they kind of feel like a little bit embarrassed about it. So like they don't want to keep pushing forward with it. But if you set the table and you let them know, here's what's going to happen first. If this doesn't happen, here's what's going to happen next. They'll understand the bigger picture of the whole process.
Yeah. So you just got to understand, within the telesales concept, we're just not providing a number for them. We want to make it a whole concept of like, we're going to take care of this today. We're going to get you approved today. We're going to get you a policy today. So this is the first step. We're going to get you covered with Americo. And what's great about Americo, if you notice the difference, it's a 10% difference on your commission comp. It's only 5% off your FFL comp compared to like Prosperity, Mutual, which is 15%, right? So you get paid faster with Americo too.
And let me tell you from my own personal experience. I mean, some cases I've had to go with different carriers that are fully underwritten, or they take a little bit longer, because based off of the situation, and that's what the client wanted, or that they wanted this particular product that didn't have to offer. If I can go Americo every single policy, like I would love it. Like Americo or Prosperity and AIG, because they're all instant decision. Like I hate follow work. Like I despise it. And then like with Americo, Prosperity, and AIG, like when you're done, you're done. And then not only does that client have the peace of mind knowing, okay, as soon as we're off this phone, I'm already covered. I also know I don't need to follow up anymore.
Yeah, and the best part is this text signature, man. It's so quick.
Yeah.
You get the clients to just repeat the 6 numbers for you instead of like opening up their email and then a pop-up happens, and then
And
they're
then they got
stuck.
scroll, view the document, scroll through it, check the box, and then they always forget to check the box, and they're like, "It won't let me sign. It won't let me sign."
I see this link, and then they click the link with your name, and they're emailing you. Like, what the hell? 2 hours later, what the hell? So keep it simple. It's not about the price; it's about the value and what you're selling for them, and the convenience for it, right? So the way you can kind of like lower their guard by saying this is going to be taken care of, this is going to be easy, we're going to get you approved on the spot. These are little selling tools subliminally that gets them at ease. Anybody else have a specific question?
Did I answer your question fully, Donnie?
Yeah, I did. Thank you.
Yeah, I would just try to, at the end of part, try to avoid using companies that tell you like 2 to 3 days send to underwriting, because you just have more follow-ups, and then you get to find out the client forgets, and then you get a 5-day letter saying that it got declined, and now you got to follow up again. Like,
I hate that. That feeling sucks because then like not only are you like, I got to go back to the client now, and I got to try to explain to them, and then you reach out to them. Sometimes they're just like, "I'm over it. I don't want it anymore."
they give up. I really like Terrence's line. It's like, I just want to let you know, client, Mr. So-and-so, I'm your guy. I'm going to find you the plan. I'm going to take care of you. I'm your insurance man. So little things creates that trust. It's kind of like you go to the same mechanic. Okay. You want to go to the same insurance man. Like, that's my guy. I trust them. They're going to take care of me. They're going to do whatever that's best for me. So
I'm like
you gotta
that with
build
my
that,
mechanic.
right?
I take all my cars there, and like I don't want to mess with anyone else because he knows the history of
Yeah.
a
So
full service guy. We could be the full service agent for our clients.
right. And then if you do the right job, man, you're going to get the word of mouth. You're going to get referrals, and it's easier to ask for referrals, and we take care of them. Anybody else have any other questions?
If somebody,
Okay.
if somebody gets declined because
Mhm.
of a medication and they're not taking it, can they overcome that? How do you prove that you're not taking something?
So you typically can't, unless you provide medical doctor records, and then these simplified issue policies don't even ask for the doctor records, right? So the hard part is to prove that. It's sometimes not to prove from the carrier. You have to prove and fight MIB, or you have to fight IntelliScript, which takes a while, right? So when these carriers pull out your information from the social, they check MIB, the Medical Insurance Bureau. That's the record that has the rated, the declines from previous applications. Okay. And that's hard to prove against if they did a physical exam and they found all that and it's on the record. Right. And then secondly, on the IntelliScript, when a doctor prescribes medication for you, it goes into the IntelliScript. So how do you prove that? You have to tell the doctor that the doctor misdiagnosed or misprescribed. It's tough. It's better for us to just pivot and get them approved today than fight that and paperwork and then all that stuff.
I actually had that same exact scenario happen yesterday or 2 days ago. It was a woman that she was diagnosed with high blood pressure, but it was only because of pregnancy.
Mhm.
So it wasn't long. It was only during the term of her pregnancy. But then in America, it disqualifies them if you've been diagnosed prior to the age of 40, right?
Oh, snap.
So then she was like 39 when she got high blood pressure for a couple months, and then after that, she was fine.
Mhm.
But then as it came up on the medical records on the prescription check and the MIB check, and then so then like
It told you this high blood pressure?
it came up and said like how you answer this question will determine whether or not this client qualifies. And then so then I tried to put no, but then it said it's inconsistent with the reports. So then I put yes, trying to see if I can explain it because she no longer has high blood pressure. But then like and when I answered no, then automatically, or when I answered yes, it automatically said unfortunately this client does not qualify. And I'm like, so I told my client the options. I'm like, all right, here's what came up. Here's the reason why. It thinks you have it, even though you really don't have it anymore. It's just strictly pregnancy. There's no place on this application for me to distinguish that it was due to pregnancy. So we can do one of two things. I can either call Americo and see how we can try to dispute this thing, which will take a couple of days, or we can go with a different carrier and then we can see if we can, because the thing is every one of these carriers have slightly different criteria, and this shouldn't be an issue, but it happens to be, and I can't make the distinction here on this application. So you want to go with another one? She said yes. Went to another carrier, immediately qualified.
Yeah.
So as long as you walk the client through the process, I don't know what, there's no right or wrongs.
Yeah.
Because it would have been perfectly fine if she said, yeah, let's just go back and find out what this is, because sometimes I've had that happen too. Clients were like, yeah, could you find out, because I'm I'm curious because I don't think I have this and I don't think I have that. And then we went back and in most of the situations, they're like, no, you do have it. Or the doctor prescribed them something
Yep.
for a different medical condition that treats like multiple conditions.
Yep.
And they think they have this. And every once in a great while, this is not the norm. But if the client has a pretty common name, sometimes they may mix up and they pull up someone else's file.
Uh-huh.
So if it's like John Smith or something, they could have pulled up another John Smith, and then they looked at their meds and they looked at their prescription history, and then maybe that's it. But that's not that likely unless the client has a really, and then they swear up and down like, I've never taken this, I've never been prescribed that. That might be the case.
Yeah.
So
I just know how carriers, for me, my understanding of how carriers and how simplified issue business works. So the simplified issue in most of these carriers, they don't have an underwriter. So we don't have a gray area to explain. So it's clearly black and white. If that dings you based on that prescription, doesn't care, it's out. So we got to go with another carrier that might be able to allow us to explain those little things. So sometimes it helps if that's the situation. If you feel like they're going to get a better deal, we've had it where we use FNG and they've gotten approved. So some companies are a little bit lenient in underwriting. Kuhn had a client with hepatitis C that got auto declined with IOL Express and got a preferred rate with the FNG.
amazing.
So you just never know. So it's that's the beautiful part about having multiple carriers, but just understanding how each company's underwriting works will help you. And that will come through experience.
Oh, one last thing I wanted to add about this whole thing too. Let's not discount the fact that some of these clients are just straight up liars.
Yeah.
Because like they don't know who you are yet. So then they're just thinking like, can I slide this under the radar? Can I just sneak this through? And like, they're hoping that it's not going to get caught. So sometimes they're like, no, I swear I've never taken that. And I'm like, dude, it's overwhelming. Like you got it. So I mean, do your best, try to discern whatever you can. And part of it has to do with the level of professionalism and our ability to be able to try to ask these questions in a tactful manner to try to get them to feel comfortable enough to really open up to you. And then sometimes you'd be like, hey, it's perfectly fine. Like, I'm just trying to help you get approved for this. And it would help me to find you the right plan if I know all the details. Yeah. So there's no judgment here. I'm just trying to figure out exactly what you have so I can point you the right direction.
Yeah. And I preface with how I get my social. I always tell them like, your social will be ran and they're going to see all your prescription history in there. So it's going to prove you, that's the best part. It's going to prove you or reject you on the spot without a physical exam. But that's like subliminally in the back of the head. Like, you can't lie. It's going to run it. They're going to know. Any other questions?
Hey, it's Kuhn here. I just had a question more geared towards new agents. I kind of find myself battling mentally with myself. And so one example on one of the calls John gave was, he bought 25 leads and he sold 2.
Okay.
And as a new agent, I think we typically focus on the 23 that didn't sell. But to put in perspective, those 2 leads got him 4 times the return. Is there anything that you guys recommend for new agents or maybe just anybody to mentally prepare yourself or just stay ready to keep with it?
Yeah, I'll start. Creating the expectations. Actually, that's one of our topics for the telesales and the dialing. Like, we are in the business of law of large numbers, right? And at the same time, it's just like any other field. Okay, I'm watching basketball, right? Who's a good 3-point shooter? What's a good percentage of a 3-point shooter?
40%.
40%. And there's only like 2 or 3 people in the NBA are at 40, right? Usually 33 to 35 to 38, 36, 37, dude, you're a high contract individual. Right. So understand that. So 1 out of 3 clip of a sale in the process, it's good money here. Okay. So 1 out of 4, you're average.
Yeah.
So,
and you'll still make money if you do that consistently.
Right. Because you're going to have the law of large numbers. You're going to have these clients. And then sometimes you hit on a client that's going to have a big sale, right? They're going to pay 100 plus. They're going to pay 200 plus. One of my clients earlier today, he kind of balked at it. I was like, I just rolled it off. Yeah, it's $450 a month. And he wasn't complaining about the price, but he was trying to like outweigh his options. So off of 1 lead. So understand my expectations, or for a new agent to have the expectation is you're not going to sell them all. You're not trying to sell them all. you're grabbing as much as you can to sell the few that's going to get you the highest return of investment.
Yeah, and I think, I guess going back to your original question is like, just think about that phrasing. You're like, I'm mentally battling myself,
Mhm.
right? So the thing is like, who's winning?
Which part of you
It's like,
is winning?
you're still the same person either way. So I mean, I think the thing is, it's important for us to be conscious and just not make things harder than it needs to be, because everyone goes through the same thing. It's just everyone goes through the same thing. Because like Terrence is going to be on our podcast later on today, and he doesn't have any special skills. It's just he just mentally like, if someone gives him any pushback, he's just like, all right, well, you have a good day, and then he just hangs up and moves on.
Yeah.
Right. So the thing is like, it's the constant activity will actually allow you to not think about it so much. Number one, it will build you the experience that you need to be able to have a better grasp and perspective on. It's not the end of the world if someone says no.
Yeah.
Also allows you to recognize, I need to sharpen up my skills. I need to get more experience. Like maybe I don't know what I need to know yet. So that's the reason why I'm not closing at the rate that I want. So there's always that. And then, it's just like, it's just the numbers are the numbers. You can't beat the numbers, and the numbers can't beat you if you do it consistently for long enough.
Yeah. And then Saktodarsky actually reversed the method in his head.
Yep.
So he understood his numbers. Let's say your numbers are 1 out of 10, right? So you need to get 9 no's out of 1 yes. So he started reversing it. He started wanting to get the no's. He says, I need 9 no's for 1 yes. So he starts counting them. Let me get a no. Let me get a no from you. Okay, let me call the next one. I'm at 3 no's. I need 6 more no's to get the yes. So now instead of mentally battling with himself, he's psyching himself up to get rejected. So I can get more no's to get that final yes. So if he got 1 yes right immediately, he understands I'm 18 no's. I need to get my 18 no's to the next one, right? So now you're not battling with yourself. You're just understanding and you're playing the game. You play the game understanding the rules and understanding the numbers.
That's a neat little trick to defeat yourself.
Yeah, defeat yourself if you're expecting defeat. It's like anticipating a slap. I need 9 slaps, right?
I think John just wants to inflict physical violence.
It's like that. It just reminds me of that slapping with the UFC with the Dana White.
Oh yeah. Stupid show.
Who gets concussed first?
Yeah.
For a few dollars.
Let's get CTE.
But does that answer your question?
Yeah, you're on the right track, Coon.
Yeah, it does.
Just keep doing what you're doing, man. It's just
It's
just
part of the
experience, repetition, and then after a while, you won't even think about it.
Yeah, I'm sure it just rolls off you guys' shoulders by now.
Actually, I actually find it funny. Like I'll joke with John, and I'll be like, "I screwed that one up," or I'll be like, "This client's like way off base," or I mean, not in such nice language, but
I think really the biggest mental part is just starting.
it really
Because if you
is.
start your dials, like you can set everything up. You can have your leads, you could have this, you could have that. You could mentally prepare. All right, I'm gonna start today. I'm gonna do this. But if you don't start right away, but once you have your 1 or 2 dials, you're already rolling, right? And then it's you just mentally battling, taking a break, and then getting back into it.
That's the real battle.
Yeah.
It's not about my closing ratio. It's not about like how many people hang up on me. It's more about, I just need to accept I'm going to do this.
Yes.
Whatever happens, I just need to accept I'm going to do this today, and I'm going to do this for the week, and I'm going to do this for my career. And then once you get past that point, it's like, it's what I'm supposed to do. And then whatever happens, happens.
Yeah. So I would say make little goals, make little stepping stones. So let's say you're having a hard time battling and dialing. Okay, let's start with 25 dials. See if you could dial 25 in an hour, and then take your break. Take your break and figure out, readjust. Like, all right, it wasn't that bad. I got hung up on. I got to talk to some people. Some people were nice to me. Some people told me to go to hell. And then you go again. Okay, let's see if I can do this again. Let's see if I can do another hour today. Another 3 hours today. You'll be set.
Yes.
I had a last question, a funny question, but I do have an answer to
I
this.
like the funny ones.
This is the funniest question. How do I get paid more and work less? What would, if you can think of, because we are, I wouldn't say lazy, but we're smart individuals and we like to take shortcuts sometimes. But if you had an answer for how do I make more and get paid, how do I make more and work less? What would be the simple solution for you?
Go rob a bank.
No, within our circle, within our
Win the lottery.
within our insurance field. How do I make more sales working less?
Well, I mean, ironically, is like you got to commit to working really hard for a year or two, and then set up the infrastructure. So the first, I mean, that was my goal, because like I don't I love what I do for work, like in full disclosure, but I mean, I don't live to work. Like I'm like work doesn't like define everything about me. So I'm not gonna be like, I'm a workaholic. But I'm like, if work needs to be done, I know I'm in it. I'm committed to it. It is what it is. But I guess the way to make more money and work less is you need to put in a lot of work, build a team so you get that passive income. And then the thing is, doesn't mean your work is completely done, because you can't just be like, oh, I hired John, I'm just going to sit back and just money's going to be made. Like I still got to continue to work with John. I still got to monitor his business or help him with the things that he needs in order for him to be successful. Because so it's an ongoing process, but then like, I don't have to worry about John the way that I did when I first hired him.
Right.
Because he's self-sufficient for the most part. But, so that's the thing. You want to build a team, you build some passive income. So not all the income that you generate is entirely solely dependent on you.
Yeah.
That's my answer.
My answer would be mastery. If you can master what you're doing,
It's a good one.
you will, well, one, you'll be efficient at it. So you are working less. Okay. So a couple of things, like let's say you're really good, you build a lot of value. If you have such a strong master in your craft, well, guess what? That client felt such a great service that they're going to give you word of mouth referrals. Now you work less, you got free leads. Okay. So I was telling him, go create your Calendly account, put your Calendly account on your social media, on your Facebook, on your profile, and then let clients click on it and book an appointment with you. You got a free insurance right there. Put out your ethos link. You got clients looking at it and say, okay, let me go apply and get life insurance through you. You work less, right? And then if you have a mastery, you can now build, you can now scale, you can now recruit, and you can scale. And now you have agents learning from you, from your mastery, that now you're making passive income through that. So you got to get good, really good, and you get efficient.
Well, plus, I mean, if you break that down, I mean, the thing is, we've had agents that generate their own leads and they put out stuff on social media, so they can generate more leads that way. So the thing is, technically, if it's still work related, it's still kind of work, but those people seem to enjoy that aspect more than they enjoy buying leads or calling through a bunch of people and all that stuff. So I mean, whatever you got to figure out what suits your particular strengths or what allows you to maintain attention in that aspect of your business, and just go after that a little bit more and just try to master it. And yes, you're going to get the same type of results in less time, and that allows you to work less.
Yeah.
But it only comes if you put in that work first.
No,
it's not going to happen on its own.
Yeah. Who said that? You can't drive a car while it's parked. I heard it on someone's call or something on social media. You can't drive a car while it's parked, meaning that you can't master driving if you're stuck. Right. Same thing with learning with a bike. But who texts and drive? Right? Why? Because we mastered driving. We can drive while not paying attention and still get to our destination. Well, how many driving hours did you get? Right? So same thing in our business. You got to get going so good that it's like riding a bike. It's so easy that it's so second nature. It's very efficient. So you are technically working less. I'm technically driving less because I'm texting more.
John zoned out half the time when he's behind the wheel.
Yeah, man. My best line at the end of the destination is like, I look up, oh, I'm here.
How did I get here?
Yeah.
Where did the last 25 minutes go?
There you go. We kids in the back, whatever. YOLO.
For the CHP out there watching, we're just kidding.
So hopefully that helps. We are going to be wrapping it up. It's going to be on YouTube, FFL Elite Clips. Please like it, subscribe it, and share it for other agents. If you're building a team, bring your team here. We're able to help them out, so you don't have to do a lot of the work, and you're going to get that passive income. So we'll see you guys next week.
Appreciate you guys.
Have a good one.